now. So I will show you a few examples of something that I really appreciate when working with Tableau. And I guess I can see from the names that some of you at least are very experienced, so maybe it will be just a repetition. But anyway, I will start and I will show you one of the features in Tableau that I use most, especially when making dashboards for my colleagues. So I take the basis in the Superstore, which I'm not extremely familiar with. I haven't used it that much, so you're probably more familiar. But this is just for having something to use as the basis. So what I will do is I will make a parameter, and that parameter I will use for controlling the one of our dimensions. So, and then please, whatever, interrupt, ask questions, etc. So here I make a parameter, give it a name, I'll call it breakdown. Let's hope things don't break down. I have a copy, by the way, of everything that I've done. So if things go totally out of hand, I can go to the copy. So here I make a string parameter and I make a list, and basically the list will consist of dimensions that we have in the data. So we have segments, we have, I will not make all, I will only make a few ones. Category, we have one called sub category. It's important that I spell it right, and then total, for example. So now I've set up a parameter. I will show it. Turns up here to the right, as you can see, and then now we can actually choose a category. Of course, nothing will happen because I haven't done anything to make it happen. So I will now make a new, I create fields, which will then be a dimension. I would often call it analysis, breakdown. And then what I will now do is I will test my parameter. So I will say if breakdown, which is the name of my parameter, is equal to, remember this is a text segment, then use the dimension named segment. And then I can take the next, sorry, else if breakdown equal to category, then I will take the dimension category, and then you just copy this. Take the last one, so you don't have to wait so long for the result. Well, it's really important that we spell it right. Subcategory like this. And if not any of these, I will just have a text string that I can call total. Could also have it as a blank instead. Might look nicer, but I will say okay. And now I have this dimension. I'll then replace my segment up here. So now you can see nothing changed, but now I have analysis breakdown. And the reason why nothing actually changed is because I have chosen segment in the breakdown. So if I now choose category, as you can see, it has changed to categories. I can choose subcategory. So this is a really easy way to make your visuals much more come alive. And I think you can also have more than one parameter, etc. So This I just use all the time. So I hope you like that. This gives me the possibility to go to the next tip or feature that I often use. I will now use a level of detail functionality, which I really love about Tableau is the level of details. So that was a great day when that was introduced. So what I will now do is I will start by making a calculation on subcategory as a fixed dimension. I will not go into the details on level of details now. Of course, we can do that another time. So now I will go to product. Yeah, here we have the subcategory. So I will now create a new calculated field. The field I will call subcategory share of sales. And what I want to do now is I want to calculate how big a share each subcategory is of the total sales. So I will make a fixed level of detail calculation by doing this fixed subcategory, and then I will sum up sales. We do it like this. So now by doing this, I have the sales per subcategory, no matter what filter you have. So of course you can make this much more advanced, but for what I want to show you now, it doesn't matter that much. And then I want to divide that with sum of sales. I put it into the brackets because then I get Tableau to make a total for everything, for all subcategories. So this should give me the share of sales for subcategory. So why do I want to do that? Well, I will show you, because I will now make a new dimension that I will call subcategory smart. Because I want my wish to look a bit nicer, and I had too many subcategories. So I will say that if my my subcategory share of sales is larger than, for example, 5%, then use the subcategory. Else, I will put it into rest and then end. So this should now work. We could of course make a parameter that will control this, and you could make all different types of calculations by using a level of detail, but this will do for now. And I will then be able to take my breakdown, add the new dimension, hope that there's a big risk, of course, that I make a mistake now with the spelling, but now I've done this at least, and then you can see it here in the breakdown to the right. So now I only have to put it into my logic as well. I can take a copy of this. And doing this, like this. Hit OK, and we should now be able to test it. Let's test the total first, and then I can take the subcategory correctly, like this. So here we have it. So now you can see that we have rest here, and if you want to, you can drag it to the end, for example. So I think the good thing about this, the alternative might be to show only the 5 largest or the 10 largest, etc. But now you know you have your whole population as part of your visual. So that's what I think is quite nice about this one. Okay, that was the start. Then I will go to the next, and then please give me a sign if I'm being a bit too slow. My next tip, which I hope you will like, is I will again take the basis of one of these. I should actually have made a copy. So I'll duplicate this. And I think I will actually take and make this on subcategory. I don't want to be confused by the breakdown. So as you can see, we now have this visual, which is a bit too crowded. What happens if I look on columns? Well, still too crowded. So it would be nice to be able to have a matrix of this. So now I will show you how that can be done. It's not that difficult. So hopefully. So I will use this table calculation called index. I want to have it as a discrete. And so now it's here. And then it's important that you fix this to be indexed on the subcategory. So now we have it here, and you can see the numbers counting from 1 to in a way too much to 17. So definitely too crowded. If I take a copy of this, I should be able to do that here. Just have to control as well that it's using subcategory. So now you can see that we have this counting to 17, and we have counting to 17 as well. So I will take the subcategory to the details. And if I now go here, yeah, okay, maybe it's easier, I think. It's probably the same logic, but it's what I want to do now is I said, I want to have 4 columns. So every time I turn from 4 columns, I will want to have a new row. And this you can do by, because it starts in 1, if I take index minus 1, I will divide with 4. And then I will take, what I need to do now is I will take the integer of this here. And then I will have a discrete. So now you can see that in every 4, there will be a shift of row. So now I just have to control the columns as well. And I can do that in the same way, minus 1. But then instead of dividing with 4, I want to have the remainder on my decimals. So I basically do like this, use a percentage times sign instead. And I take the integer again on this, and then I make it as a discrete. Voila. So this is something that's extremely valuable if you have a lot of unique categories. So hopefully this is something you like. And as you can see, it would be really easy to make a parameter that will control the number of columns. So you just have a parameter, and then you could have, depending on the amount of information, you could say that you only want 2 columns. For example, I work in an organization where we are Nordic, so we have 4 countries. So I would be able to have a 2 by 2. So instead of having 4 countries next to each other or 4 countries down, I can have 2 and 2. So an easy way to do that. So that was that tip. Then I have one more. If you want to have one more tip, my last one for today. I will again, if I go here, take a copy of this, duplicate it. And this is relating to rolling 12, which at least in my organization we often use. Sorry, what I want to do is, instead of having a graph, I want to have a table for illustrating this, but it will work as well if you look at graphs. So I will simplify it a bit, only showing sales. Because, yeah, we can use segment, it really doesn't matter. So now here you can see sales per month per segment, and I want to have this as rolling 12. So it's quite easy to use Tableau functionality to doing that. So here, take the moving average as a basis, and then edit that. And then instead of average, use sum. And then in this case, if you start in 11, including the 0, then it's 12. So now I have rolling 12. But very often when having a table, you actually don't want to show that. You might want to show the R12 number in a given month. For example, now R12, we want to see how does it look in March compared to March earlier years. So how to do that? You would of course say, well, you could filter on it, and well, we could do that. So if we took in the filtering on month, what happens if we do that and go to March? Well, if you were trained and remember the numbers, you would see that this is actually not showing the R12. The problem is that our calculation is a table calculation. So now we have moved all the underlying month away. So this will actually not work. So I have to go back and select all again. But by using a visual filter, so we can create a visual filter. The filtering will be done after the calculations have been made. So I will show you how you can do that, hopefully. So if we create a calculated field, we can do like this. I hope. Take this away and drag this down here. And then we can, let me hope that I'm doing it correct. Sorry, that was not what I wanted to do. I'll do like this. Do like this. Then let me see. Then what I want to do is I want to calculate month on top of that. And I can call it month filter. So now, hopefully, we have a filter, which is, yeah, sorry, I want to do one more thing. You don't have to do it, but I think it makes it easier. I will convert the number into a string. And then go like this. Sorry about the confusion. And now I can choose March. So basically I now have a filter, a visual filter. So it will make it much easier for your R12 calculations instead of having to make calculated R12 for each year, etc. You now have it automatically. And in this case, we don't have R12 for 17, so we would filter that away. You could also ask Tableau not to show it for the first, unless there's 12 months, but I can show you something here. I can duplicate this, edit this. This is really fast and easy. Home, and then we say year, and we can have year here, like this. Okay, and we now have a year filter as well. nice and smooth. Okay, super. Thanks. I think I went through what I wanted to do. Hope I didn't take too long. I actually have no idea of the time, but I hope you enjoyed it and have something to flesh out of this. And please let me know if it doesn't work. Give me a signal. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hand over to Scott Lemming. Sorry about the technical issues.
Hi, everyone. Let me share my screen here. Hi, I'm Scott Lemming. I'm here to not going to actually present any Tableau, just sort of give you a little bit of a backstory about the company I work for and our journey to self-service BI using Tableau, and maybe give you some ideas of how you might do that yourself. I'm from Canada. I live on the west coast in Vancouver Island, near Vancouver. So it's actually quite early in the morning. So please excuse me if I'm a little bit slow. I started working for the company I work for called IIIBooks.com. We're an Amazon subsidiary, and I started working there about 15 years ago in PR, and then worked around various marketing components in the company. And I now am a business intelligence engineer there, working in the BI space. Just a short little blurb about the company. IIIB Books, we're started by a couple bookstore owners in Victoria, BC here, and grew to be a marketplace for used, rare, and antiquarian books worldwide, where there's thousands of sellers in many countries around the world, including Denmark and many, many countries in Europe. Been an Amazon subsidiary since 2008. We've got 2 locations for our offices, as well as some folks working virtually now. 2 locations for offices are Victoria and Munich. And kind of a unique point about our business is that we have millions of products, which is a very sort of boastful thing to say. But to kind of explain what we mean, because we focus on used, rare, and out of print, we're selling not to folks who want to read books only, but folks who collect books as well. So take an item like The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which has been in print for well over 100 years. And it has been printed in many, many, many editions in many, many languages. This one on the left here would be like a first edition that's been signed by someone close to the author or the author themselves. It might have a companion edition. It looks like something like that might be worth 5 figures in US dollars or even in euros. And the one on the right is a print on demand copy that you could pick up for a couple of dollars or a couple of euros anywhere on the internet or at a local bookshop, or even print up yourself because it's in public domain now. So it just sort of gives the idea that for every title that there is still variations of quality and type and printings that we consider, and so that because of that we're always thinking of sort of each book as its own unique thing, and that sort of starts to give you an idea of some of the big data problems that we've had. On our journey to self-service BI, these are some of the problems that we're trying to solve, and some of the problems that I'm sure that many of you have with the companies or projects that you're working on. You've got data that's you're acquiring from multiple different sources scattered around. You're trying to turn this sort of ocean of data into information. And how to put that together with all of your complicated business logic and just even pulling it together and how to connect it together is a big problem. And it's a big problem for like a trained data professional, and then it's an even bigger problem for someone who's a specialist, like an SEO analyst, or someone who manages your PPC campaigns, or or a salesperson or a sales specialist to try and figure out how to make sense of all of this. I kind of describe this for us, and maybe for you as well, as sort of this vicious reporting cycle where you start with a fragmented data set, and then you're trying to explain something that you see happen. Sales are up in Sweden, but down in Finland, and why is this happening? You're creating different KPIs and dimensions to try and explain this anomaly or happening. So you end up creating a custom report, which ends up just sort of leading to more fragmented data. And then the next time you have something different that happens, maybe the same issue, the same things happening. Like again, you see later sales are up in Sweden and down in Finland. But now it's not actually like Forex that was causing the difference. It's something else entirely. This is sort of causing this problem, this issue running around again and again, and you just end up spending all of your time deep diving on what has happened, and you don't really end up getting a chance to spend as much time as you would like really focusing on how to sort of improve your UI or anything else like that. Sort of in these battle, like this is what a typical sort of data warehouse might look like, and it's what it looked like for us pre-Tableau and pre self-service. Is we have all our stuff coming in through our source layer, and we got to build a data warehouse. We'd kind of sort of join some of these things together, and then accessing that would just be ad hoc SQL, a bunch of Excel reports and Crystal reports, kind of churning out some of these basic ad hoc queries. And this was okay. It solved some of our problems, and we would have, but it had other problems too. So we would end up, some of our Excel reports would be so large that they would literally have a note on that would say, open this up and then like turn off or like lock your computer, go have a cup of coffee, and like wait 20 minutes because your computer will be unusable and you won't be able to do anything, and that's how long it takes to load this report. Putting together our weekly decks might take 3 or 4 people a day to put together, and this was sort of an untenable situation. We surveyed the folks at our company about this and what how they found our BI solution at the time. And as you can see, we didn't score particularly well. Like, knew that the data was available. They knew that they knew that it was there somewhere, but it was there somewhere. There was lots of like, I know this is in the data warehouse. Can someone who's really an expert, strong in SQL, pull this for me? And we have a limited number of people who are really strong in SQL, and it just creates bottlenecks and problems. So we're like, how do we bring this data to the masses, and how do we democratize our data warehouse for anyone to access it? This is where we brought in Tableau, and this was pretty great. It was a big game changer for us. We started taking these data sets, making data extracts and refreshing them. Our business users started creating some viz, and then they started asking more interesting questions, which was awesome. That's exactly what we wanted them to do. It uncovered more problems as well. So if you give someone, one cool report, then they want to generate 6 more. They also want to slice and dice their information in new and interesting ways. They want to add more dimensions to help solve different, more interesting problems. It also highlights some of the complicated business logic that was built into those custom queries, and people that didn't realize that there was complicated business logic behind what they were looking at were all of a sudden forced with it. This is always that big trade-off between self-service BI and a controlled BI. Where to where to draw that line and how to deal with it, and that sort of started to rear its head. Like this, but my classic example that I had is we had a data source for our traffic information, which came from our analytics provider, and we had a data source for our sales information, which came from our operational database. I had two data sources that would answer either of these questions. And then when folks wanted to do things like conversion rate and look at how these two things interacted with each other, I had a data blend working with Tableau, which was good, but it was brittle and it was slow. I don't know if any of you have done big data blends between data sources, but like, then try and give it to a user and they've got exactly one way that they can, or exactly 5 ways that they can split this, and adding more things becomes complicated, especially for people who are new to Tableau. The last thing that we had with an issue was that Tableau was sort of on its own island on its Tableau server. If we had any problems with our ETL or with our data warehouse going into it, we could end up publishing information that was not fully correct or not fully updated to people. And especially with as you heard, we have folks working in 2 very different time zones. So how to sort of set that up so that folks who are working in Munich might not have up-to-date information because our processing happens at midnight Pacific time. How to sort of deal with Tableau living on its own island was the other problem we had. The way we solved this was setting up a prep layer and a schedule layer with our interaction between our DW and our Tableau server. We used a tool called Matillion, which is a GUI, but you can kind of use a bunch of different tools. Tableau's got Tableau Prep. You can just use cron jobs or Windows scheduling for scheduling. There's a bunch of different ways, but this is sort of the idea that we can set up how all our data comes into our data lake using a prep layer and a scheduler, and then we can make sure that our information does not go to Tableau and the outside world in our data warehouse until it's complete. And then once it's complete, we can refresh our extracts so that our extracts are now linked and matched with our data warehouse. On that first part of the prep, this is sort of the explanation of how I built things in the prep layer. So instead of now using a data blend to blend our traffic information with our sales information, I'm doing all of that and bringing that into the data warehouse where rather than having Tableau do it. So by giving Tableau a more processed version of our data, I'm able to give Tableau more data to work with, and my reports are able to run a bit faster. And also I'm able to control for any missing data and whatnot in this prep set. I'm just going to go a little bit quickly because I know we're a little bit late, and I'll let anyone ask questions if there's questions at the end there. The other cool thing that we're able to do is set up a between our data lake and Tableau by using tabcmd, which is Tableau's command line. We were able to schedule when our extracts, our refreshes would happen. So again, like, let's not refresh the extract on Tableau until we know that everything is finished loading from OLTP or from our external sources, from our analytics engine. So if there's any slowdown anywhere in that ETL process, we're able to push that, not push that sort of semi-complete information to Tableau server, so that the users who are looking at Tableau server know that they've got something that's actually complete, and they can see when their last refresh happened, so that they know what information is available to them. The other thing that was kind of cool is that we set up a connection to query the Tableau server's metadata itself. So you can actually, I don't know if any of you have done this, but you can query to see when the last extract happened on your server. So if you've got a data warehouse, you can pull that information and then sort of sync when the last extracts or information about the metadata on your server into your data warehouse, and then include that in your flow. And then we use SMS or SQS to sort of push other relevant jobs that we want to run depending on what's happening. So if we see that Tableau server is not up to date yet, then we won't run a generation of a PDF for a weekly deck. Instead, we might reattempt the refresh until we sort of sync everything up, and we can do all of that with scripts. It's really made things easier. We can get all of that sort of pre-prep and reporting. I've schedules to run that on Sunday, so that when folks come in Monday morning at 8 a.m., they either have something completely ready, or they're very aware of what is and isn't working, and that someone is notified as to what's going on about it. So that's why I say we have happy or at least informed business users on Monday morning. It's my last slide here, and then we can get to questions. I kind of hopefully didn't skim over anything too quickly there. In the end here, the idea was that we wanted to try and improve the access to the data warehouse and sort of take down some of the barriers to entry, so that with new hires, we're able to contribute to bring their ideas to our business earlier in the process, rather than having to learn all this complicated stuff ahead of time, but still have access to the data. What we learned were as our users became more trusting of our data set, and we didn't have fragile reports breaking when they tried to edit something, and we didn't have reports taking a really long time to run, they were more creative and more willing to try things and make mistakes and learn and teach us things as well. We also learned that no one likes bottlenecks. And if people feel like they're constantly having to bother someone else to get something that they want, then they're going to stop asking for it. So tried to create well, there's a hierarchy, but again, trying to keep it flat and trying to give everybody as much permission as they're able to handle. So we got general users. Everyone has access to the Tableau server. Folks who've been around for a while and are interested in data, they get Tableau Desktop, so that they can publish data to the server for updating data sources, adding calculations, sort of rerunning the SQL or reconnecting new tables that have been created. If there's something that they need that isn't available in the DW, they take that to a BI champion. So that's someone like a really trained analyst or a business intelligence engineer or something like that to update or create some of these base tables that have this aggregated data sets to allow for a more complicated data to be available. And then at the end, we sort of just have a couple of DBAs, data engineers, who sort of are, and they're all they really have to do is just maintain the base and make sure that the website is functioning operationally, and they aren't saddled with this sort of extra BI layer that allows them to focus on what they do best and allows all of us to kind of really hone in onto different areas of the business. And then the last thing was that not everything needs a dashboard, and not everything needs to be in a really slick setup. We always try and work on the 80-20 rule of like, can we answer 80% of the questions in 20% of the effort? And if it doesn't fall into that, then it is going to be an ad hoc kind of query. And don't have to worry about creating big extracts and data sets. Sometimes just custom SQL into Tableau to give you an answer is going to be just enough. Finish off, I redid the same survey that I had done to our users in 2017, asking them again after we had made all these changes to the prep layer and setting up this structure for our users with the BI champions and the Tableau Power users and scheduling. And after we had done all those changes and fixes, this is sort of the improvement that we saw, that we really managed to move up in all categories. Everyone felt more comfortable, and these weren't necessarily the same people in 2017 as 2020. And we still have some growth to do and some things to change and make better, but we have made a lot of progress, I think, and I think it's a pretty decent method to try and sig. That was maybe let me know if there's any questions.
Yes, sir. Please write down your questions in the Q&A if you have any questions. If there are no questions, I would like to thank everybody for joining. We really apologize for the technical issues that we have had. And we really hope that this doesn't happen next time. So we'll do a lot of testing just before the next session. Just before we go, I'd like to thank Scott for taking his time. I know it's really early where you are right now. So I'd like to thank you very much for being here with us. And thank you very much for the presentation. I'd also like to thank our presenter, Lars. He also helped us a little bit with the last minute change over of presenters, and that's why we have a late Q1. We will still have our Q2 going on, so please watch out for that. And we will make sure that these technical issues do not happen again. Thank you very much for your time, and have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.